Jeff raised his hand with a scowl on his face, which seemed comical despite his Chelsea smile. It can be compared to someone with furrowed brows, yet showing a fake smile in an attempt to compose oneself. Yes? I asked briefly. You promised there would be blood and guts. I have yet to hear any, he complained. I cannot just skip ahead the crucial parts. That would not make sense to the other listeners, now would it? I replied casually. She has a point. Jane agreed. Besides, we like hearing details. The politics get interesting here. Ben added. Yeah, Toby said, nodding his head. It's so romantic, Sally murmured. Slenderman crossed his arms and muttered, None of the words, Sally. I'm getting to the part where the party took place and ends in disaster, or for some of you, be better, I said with a soft chuckle. Promise? Jeff asked with a pointed finger. Promise, impatient one, was my reply. Anyway, the Hallows Eve ball took place in a public square near the London Bridge. Big Ben's bells chimed 7 o'clock. The sound brought an eerie highlight to the atmosphere, which was slightly covered with white fog. It was wonderful for the party's spooky theme. Our skeletal markings and white hair with Mr. Faceless features were welcomed by the living. We were complimented upon our appearances, and none were the wiser. Our speech had to be controlled, as the living are to remain ignorant of death angels and how they conduct themselves. A law that each had to obey under Hades' dark kingdom. While walking amongst the patrons, I felt a light tap upon my back and turned to see who had been. The person was a brown-haired gentleman with an orange rose in his lapel, extended his hand towards me elegantly and asked, May I have this dance, Lady Death? Yes, you may, I said, accepting the hand and walking with him to the dance floor. May I ask your name, miss? He inquired. My name is Hope Darling Fitzgerald. May I inquire yours, good sir? I replied while we positioned ourselves for a waltz. Charles Dickens. May I say that your accent is unique, he said, looking directly into my eyes, studying me. Thank you, I suppose. It is an honor to meet you. I am a fan of your work, my tone being genuinely pleasant, though maintaining my guard. We waltzed smoothly together, though he directed me in other areas of the ballroom during our dance. Ah, that is good to hear. Most look down on my work, which is too brutally honest to read, he said, delighted. It is human nature to delve into fantasy when the world is unpleasant and wish to escape, and what good would that do? You enlighten people with your work and inspire self-improvement. Do not let it stop you from writing any more books, I said. I shall remember your kind words, Miss Fitzgerald. You seem to have a touch of Celtic to your American tone, he commented. Oh, my parents were from Ireland and I was raised American, I explained. Yes, yes, do not be ashamed by your speech either. It shows strength to your character, he said. I chuckled at the mention of strength. You have no idea on the times I had displayed strength, Mr. Dickens. Fortunately, I had been underestimated. I could imagine. Most women lack your courage to do so, he said, astonished. I was not raised in a flower bed, I said simply. You are a different variety of flower. Do not undervalue yourself, he said in a gentle tone. My cheeks warmed at this statement and asked, What kind of flower am I, then? An Irish rose. Hard to find, he replied. You had set my face on fire, sir, I said sheepishly. I can tell you have fire in your heart by you encouraging me to write. I am observant in people and traits which most consider to be mundane. Your traits stood out to me the moment I had met you. Your accent, your hint of conviction to your words, and you carry yourself with humility, though I can detect playful mischief and cleverness to your nature, he explained. I chuckled softly. Well, you are correct on the latter, as those are my strengths and tools to my life. It is all done within reason and not for my own benefit, I said. You had a difficult past, he said. Yes, and has made me strong and managed the evils of the world, I said, slightly melancholic. All while conducting yourself with dignity, he commented. I can tell that from you as well, sir. Perhaps we are kindred souls. Your kind words are encouraging, I said with a smile. Our dance had ended smoothly. He took my hand and kissed the back of it. I had danced with death and had lived a little longer. Let us meet again soon, he said. Perhaps we may in the future, Mr. Dickens, I said, chuckling at the irony. Farewell for now, Miss Fitzgerald, he said, leaving me to watch him disappear into the crowd of dancing people. I will never forget that event. It had been enlightening and made me feel special when I felt insecure. Peter approached me in a rush and grabbed my hand quickly, panting heavily. Oh, good, I found you, he exclaimed. What's wrong? Did you find something out? I asked anxiously. Something very wrong, and yes, he answered, dragging me away from the area. I ran with him, expecting the worst scenario. To our horror, we saw Aleister Crowley, courting an aristocratic woman dressed in red, and having her soul flow from the mouth and into a vial. The woman fell to the floor as the man laughed wickedly and discreetly placing it into his pocket. We need to stop him, and fast, he said urgently. I nodded while scowling and said, Let's lure him somewhere secluded. Good thinking. We do not want to attract attention. Use your feminine wiles to lure him to the public park, he said quickly. That is not my usual action, I said, feeling awkward. It is not in my nature or urges to be overtly sexual with a man I do not know on a personal level. Some may consider it to be a decent and conscious choice, but it is a rather involuntary behavior with myself. Anxiety, or the fear of being judged, was not the motivation to this trait, but my lack of carnal attraction had been the undermining reason. I had only experienced lust to Thomas, who had been the son of the malicious leader. Perhaps it was the bonding which had spurred it on. What is wrong with you? It's easy, Peter said. Not for me, I said, looking to the floor. Do not force a lady to do something so indecent, Slenderman's voice boomed within our minds. Do you have a better plan, then? Peter asked silently. As a matter of fact, I do, he replied confidently. Slenderman appeared from behind me, took up my hands, and we began to engage in a wild and lively dance. It was an exhilarating moment which can be compared to an amusement park ride. He easily twirled me about and lifted me about in the air, laughing together in our dance. Peter scowled at this interaction and said, I can do that too. Watch and learn, Bengal, he said. Afterwards, he lifted myself from the floor, spun me around suddenly as to have my foot collide into the head of Mr. Crawley. I smiled to see him fall to the floor so easily. Men in various masks rushed to us in aggressive stances. We nodded to each other to continue our combative dance, whirling together, striking attackers with our backs to one another, occasionally lifted to be used as a battering ram to fell the more burly ones. He settled me to the ground gently, seeing the crowd dispersing in fright. Let's disappear, shall we? He asked. Moments later, we found ourselves to be standing at the top of Big Ben's tower. Well, that went to hell in a handbasket, I commented, exhaling a disappointed sigh. Wyatt pointed to the ground below us and said, Look down there. We looked downward to see a horrifying sight. Cult members dressed in white robes gathered in a giant circle, with the abomination of a constructed form laying in the center. Crawley walked to the center while drawing the vial from his coat pocket. At last, we have the souls needed to resurrect our god, he said with glee. Oh no, we murmured in unison. He unplugged the vial of white smoke to have it flow into the body. The cult held hands and sang in Sumerian in the manner of a church choir, singing louder as the body began to rise, and raising its arms in the heavens. A monstrous voice resounded. At last I am free. I have resided in the hearts of all for too long. Let hatred overcome weak love. Everyone have their heart's desires over charity. We shall do what we please. All rules and morals be gone. The dead shall rise and take what they want. Darkness is our light. Saul, go, Slenderman said with contempt. We helplessly watched as the dead rose from cemeteries which were located about town. Rotting corpses soon enveloped the streets, tearing apart the citizens for their muscles. They feasted upon the living while they screamed and tried to break into buildings by force. I watched in silence after witnessing the unfortunate disaster and carnage, clenching fists to my sides. The men engaged in an argument, placing blame upon one another and what should the next course of action is to be done. I took this moment to think of a strategy. Dickens' words had incited me to disregard societal rules of gender and shout, "Shut up!" They looked upon me with astonishment and shock to hear me speak this way. "Who are you to tell us to be quiet?" Victor said sternly. "I don't care right now," I said in a grim tone. "Then why did you release such an outburst?" he demanded. "Because I came up with a plan while all of you were arguing your territorial pissing matches. Our world is going to shit, and all of you could only think of yourselves," I said bluntly. They were silent for a while, and Wyatt finally spoke. "Let the little lady speak." "You're not being serious," Victor protested. "Oh, I am. She's got the look of a soldier in her eyes. Let us hear her plan. It could help us," Slenderman said with a smirk in his tone. "Now you are being charming. Tell us this plan you have concocted for a line." "Very well, now that I have everyone's attention, it shall be told," I said confidently. My plan had consisted of examining everyone's talents and how they can be of use to the operation. To cease the danger and as a distraction, the Love Angels have the zombies be friendly and not wish to harm. Peter is to help steal divine weaponry, and we cover him while it is being done in the Heavenly Fortress. As that is being done, Slenderman will have his one-on-one fight with Zalgo. Once the weapons were obtained, we could assist Slenderman in terminating it. The entire operation required teamwork. After I explained the plan as clear as possible, the men were silent. Each had different reactions. Wyatt was astonished and agreeable. Victor seemed to be crestfallen and reluctantly agreed. Peter applauded and eagerly agreed, and Slenderman beamed with pride. "Let's do it!" they shouted in unison. With that, we began our military operation.